And welcome back to Studio B here at VH1 in London and the Friday Rock Show. Now we're going to talk to people who actually make the stuff that we play, the people that do the real work, as opposed to what disc jockeys do, and let's just play it out. We're going to talk to Janick, we're going to talk to Adrian from Iron Maiden. Welcome.
Hi, Tom. Yeah.
Nice to see you again. Last time we met was actually in New York City, just before we talk, and we've got a lot to talk about. I want to play a video which is called Stranger in a Strange Land, which I believe you wrote.
That's
Adrian.
right, yeah.
One written by Adrian. And we'll be back with chatting after this. Stranger in a Strange Land by Iron Maiden here on VH1. And Adrian, you wrote that song when? And do you remember where?
Well, you put me on the spot there. It was in, I remember where it was. It was in Jersey when we rehearsed for the Somewhere in Time album. In, I think it was mid-80s, 85, 86. And I had the idea for the riff coming back from the dentist.
Really?
I was in a great deal of pain.
It's weird the way songs happen like that.
Yeah, you just don't know where or when. I mean, you just wake up. You know, I've got up in the middle of the night before to put down a riff on the tape recorder because I was scared of forgetting it, you know. Yeah. So you never know, you know.
So you felt like a stranger on it. You felt like a stranger in Jersey.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what it was. Okay, the gigs are coming up in a few days' time. Yeah. 3 gigs. It was originally going to be 2.
Yeah.
At Brixton. Now you put a 3rd one in, and all of it going to charity, or the vast majority of it going to.
Yeah. The profits are going to Clive Burr's MS Trust Fund that we set up, and also the royalties from the single too, which will go to help Clive with his medical expenses. When
did you find out he had MS?
I found out from Bruce. I think Steve had viewed a DVD thing for Eagle Star that had been done about Best of the Number of the Beast album, and Clive was in there, and he had some problems speaking. And off camera, he'd mentioned that, you know, this wasn't because he'd had a drink or anything, it was because he had MS. And that was the first thing we knew. He didn't tell us personally, we found out. And everybody was really, I mean, I was really shocked. I've worked with Clive as well. And these 3 concerts we put together, all the profits from that are going to go into a trust fund that's been set up for Clive, and I think it's a really good thing. We checked with him first to see that he was up for it, because basically we're telling everybody that he's got this disease, which is a horrible thing. I think you've spoken to him, haven't you?
I did spoke to him because as soon as I found out, I rang him, and because we're all, you know, devastated about it. And I think he wanted to make it public because he just wanted people to know, and yeah, he's got 1 or 2 symptoms. Right. He's got. He told me he's got one of the milder strains. So hopefully, you know, he's the sort of guy who, I think, with MS, if you must try and fight it. Obviously, I think if anyone can, he can, because he's a very positive, sort of upbeat guy. So we've got our fingers crossed.
Am I right though in thinking that these 3 gigs you're doing are the only 3 live things you're doing this year?
Yeah, we're not doing anything else this year. They're going to be the only 3 gigs anywhere in the world that anybody can see Iron Maiden live. This year.
Why have you decided to do that? Because there's an audience out there that love to see you live, because as a live band, I mean, that's how you really work, let's be honest.
I kind of thought about it, and I thought, wow, it'd be great to do more gigs, but without an album out, you know, it's you've got to have something to sort of
I don't want
to build the tour around.
I don't want the band to become a parody. I want the band to become like a cabaret band, just swanning around the world, playing to thousands of people, playing old songs. You've got to have new songs that you want to play, because that's where we are now. You know, I think it's important that we don't become a parody. I think we're relevant now. I think we're vital. I think we've got music that we can get across to people, and we just got to put an album together, which we're going to do towards the end of the year.
But you're talking about a studio album?
Yeah.
Because you've got a live album coming out, Rock in Rio.
That's right, yeah.
And the single is out, I think, next Monday.
Album's out on the 25th, I think, and the single's out on the 11th.
On the 11th. Cool. Well, during the time that you weren't with Iron Maiden, you decided to go off and have a bit of a holiday. You never really had a holiday at all. You played with a load of other people. We did a bit of research and came up with some of the names, but you played with so many different people.
Quite a few, yeah.
Is this sexual?
Yeah, I did a lot of my own projects. I wrote with a lot of people, because I'm very into writing songs. Yeah, just, and, you know, I learned a lot, you know, technically in the studio, and just music, putting songs together, just different ways of working. It also gave me a fresh perspective on Maiden. Coming back into Maiden, I almost looked at it like an outsider. I got over that. It took me years to get over that thing of, you know, not being in the band, because I've been in the band for such a long while. And but coming back in with a fresh perspective is interesting. You can, and you know, going out on stage in front of that audience every night, you know, now you really, you know, really appreciate it so much more. You know, back in the old days, we were, you know, touring. It was like you couldn't see wood for the trees sometimes. But that's the thing about a band now. Everyone's a bit older and wiser and.
Bit more mellow,
I
think, now.
It's really cool.
We were hoping actually to play an ASAP video, but I couldn't find one anywhere. But I'm sure some exist.
I happen to.
He just happens to have it not in his pocket, unfortunately, so we can't play it. But what we're going to play is something that Janick was in years and years ago. He's out by the amplifiers, if you look at it. This is Gillan and the track called Restless. Gillan and his band from years and years ago, and if you look to the left of the screen, you would have seen Janick Gers. The track was called Restless, and Janick, of course, is now in Iron Maiden. Do you recall making the video at all, or is it just a blur?
No, I recall the video. I haven't seen it before. I didn't see it finished, but I remember we were on tour, and I think we had to come back and do it. And we borrowed some guitars from a guitar shop. And, of course, when we finished the video, being the kind of band we were, when we give them back, they weren't quite in the state that they were when we got them. I think John had painted his head blue, and so his was covered in blue paint, and mine was scratched and little chips off it. I remember the crew guy to take it back, and he said they weren't very amused, you know. So I don't know who paid for that, but it wasn't me. It might have been Ian.
Right,
or was it John McCoy? Or Bernie might have paid. Bernie told me.
Bernie had some money, did he?
Cheers, Bernie.
What about White Lion? Do you remember White Lion?
Remember the band, yeah.
No.
White Spirit.
White Spirit, not
yeah.
White Lion.
Oh, yeah.
I get it wrong frequently.
It's all right. There's lots of bands around.
Somebody said to me the other day, in fact it was a gentleman who's standing behind that camera, a seriously underrated band of the day.
A very good band, actually. Great band. Signed some silly deals early on, like a lot of bands do when you just want to make a record, and that probably did for us. We were with MCA for a little while. Also, we were signed to them from Neat Records. So we signed some silly things, and that probably didn't help. But yeah, great band. And had I think they had the album White Spirit had Midnight Chaser on, and they got some great songs, some really good songs. Very proud of them. Proud of everybody I've worked with, from a musical point of view. And I think right the way down the line, there's been some great musicians.
Adrian, what was the first band you ever played in that made you some money?
Oh, well, make some money.
Money.
Even if it was like 50 pence. You know?
Oh, OK. Well, I think the first gig I did was when I was probably 15 or 16. I think the band was called Stone Free, and it was me and Dave Murray. I think we'd played in an art room school dance, and we got, you know, 10 quid or something.
Yeah, but I had Dave got a quid, and he only got 50p.
But I mean, there's always these fantastic stories about, you know, going up and down the M1 53,000 times and having no money and nowhere to sleep and all that sort of stuff. Do you think
in the van, actually?
Yeah, but do you think you have to actually pay your dues to be a real rock and roller?
I think it's part of paying your dues. I think it is, and it's kind of like an apprenticeship. You go out and you do all these gigs and you travel around the country and you learn. You know, you learn the techniques and whatnot. You learn how to play to people, how many people. Sometimes you travel 300 miles and there's 10 people there. You can't whinge about it. You go out and you give the best show. You know, I remember Sting saying they did a gig in America and there was about 4 people in the audience. And it just so happened that the 4 people had got them together and had just played a gig to 4 people. And it so happened the 4 people were people from record stations. And from that, the police took off. And that's the way you always have to look at it. Every gig's important. If there's 250,000 in Rio watching for the Rio Festival, that's great. But if there's only 10 people in a club, it might be just as important for a new band.
You still have to do the same thing, and that is...
Exactly.
You know, do you use your craft?
Yeah, you've got to learn your craft.
Yeah, and like Jan says, you never know who's in the audience. You know, you got to, every time you go out there, you got to try, you know, try your best. And that's, you know, you learn that going up and down and doing all these little places, you know.
What's the dodgiest thing about being at the strata you're on? In other words, a world-class band. What's the dodgiest thing?
Dodgiest thing?
It's anything dodgy. Just every gig is very, very important. You know, if you're going out to play, for instance, we've got a live album come out, Rock in Rio. To go out and do that gig, you know, we went on at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was up at 9 o'clock with Adrian to do a sound check at 9 in the morning, and we were told that the PA, which we didn't get, the PA had broken. Somebody had sliced the multi-claw. And apparently that the PA wasn't going to work. And we were told until 5 o'clock. I wasn't aware that the gig was going to go on. 5 o'clock, somebody said, yeah, it's going to go on. So we spent all that time worrying that the gig wasn't going to happen. Then we went on at 2 in the morning. We finished at 4. We were flown in by helicopter. You get there, you walk in, it's going to be recorded for TV, it's recorded for DVD, there's 20 cameramen out there, it's going to go out live on the radio, and numerous other things is going via satellite to somewhere else. You've got to keep your head together. There's 250,000 people out there. You walk up on stage, you stand next to your amp, and Jimmy Page has stood next to you. A little bit more pressure because he's just the master. So all those things, you have to learn how to keep your head together, how to handle it, and to put on a good concert, because those people are paid, and you want to give them a good concert. So you can't go around getting drunk and mucking around, you know. You've got, it's a serious business.
You've got
do
to
that
focus.
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys certainly do it extremely well. You're going to do it at Brixton, 3 nights at Brixton, and the live album's coming out, so at least we can hear how you sounded in Rio. Do we get to see how you were in Rio? Is there a DVD as well?
There
It's
is.
work in progress. We're still putting the finishing touches to that, and hopefully that'll be out in the summer. But you know, from what I've seen, it's going to look fantastic.
Yeah,
you know, you capture the whole atmosphere of the gig, you know, the flying in the helicopter and all that, the backstage. I mean, the backstage area was bigger than some of the gigs we've done. It was massive. There was bars backstage, bands, everything.
I think it's going to be great, and there's going to be about an hour or so of extra footage, diaries of the band, stuff with Adrian fishing and stuff, you know, Bruce in his aeroplane and me drinking. You know.
Made a real family affair.
It's really good.
Adrian, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, man.
Cheers.
Janick, nice to see you again.
Thank you.
He's dragged me off the stool.
Sorry.
Coming up after this break, you're going to get to see the Chaos version of Run to the Hills.